Hey everybody, welcome back to another Retro Roadshow video. And I'm going to start with a little bit of history and then we're going to dive into something fun. So you may or may not know, but this is an Apple II. This is an original Apple II from 1977. And the Apple II was, despite the name, Apple's first seriously successful commercial product. There was an Apple I. Those were just sold as a bare circuit board. This thing came as a ready-to-use home computer for people at home, people in offices, people in schools. And along with the TRS-80 and the Commodore PET, this machine is hugely responsible for kicking off the entire computer revolution that we're all still working our way through now, many years later. And for folks who know a little bit about Apple history, they maybe know that the Apple II kind of started things. There were more computers in this product line. And then Apple's next big hit was the Macintosh, which is still going strong all the way through to today. But that very vague sense of Apple history leaves out two important disasters that Apple worked through. One is the Apple Lisa, which was their first attempt at a computer with a graphical interface that used a mouse. The Lisa was brilliant in a lot of ways and deeply flawed in a lot of ways. Didn't last long. I think it came out in 1983 and was discontinued after having been renamed the Macintosh XL just a couple years later. And the other big hole in that chronology is a system called the Apple III. And the Apple III was intended to be a direct successor to the Apple II. The name kind of gives that away. The Apple II debuted in 1977. The Apple III debuted in 1980, about 2 years before I debuted. And the Apple III was meant to take what was great about the Apple II, its universality, the fact that anybody could use an Apple II to do something fun or interesting. And the Apple III was meant to take a lot of that momentum that Apple had built with these machines and refocus it into a machine ideally suited to business users, people in corporate offices who needed to do corporate work. And as you can probably guess, that didn't go over super well for a few different reasons. Apple wasn't known for that kind of appeal. That was more the IBM side of the world. And it was also flawed from the beginning with some really serious hardware limitations. And the Apple III did not sell well. I've seen estimates that around 100,000 units ever sold, as opposed to the many, many millions of Apple II and Macintosh systems that were sold over the decades. So the Apple III is not a common machine at all, which is why I am very pleased to say that there is some Apple III stuff in these boxes that are stacked up behind me. These boxes have been in our living room for quite a while now. They were sent to us by a coworker of mine whose father used them in his architectural design studio, and when he retired they needed a new home for this gear, and that's us at the Retro Roadshow. So follow along. We're going to unbox this stuff. All I know at this point is that there's some Apple III stuff in these boxes. I don't know what's in there. There were different models of the Apple III. There was the original Apple III and then a slightly enhanced version called the Apple III Plus. I don't know which of those is in here. I don't know if there's any software. I don't even know if there's a monitor in here. It was all kind of a sight unseen, take it or leave it kind of deal. So needless to say, we took it. So we're going to go ahead and finally crack open these boxes right now and see what we have from an Apple III perspective, which will then complement our Apple II displays when we do our Retro Roadshow presentations out in the real world. So if all goes well, visitors to our events will be able to get hands-on with Apple II and hopefully soon Apple III stuff in the near future. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. We've got three enormous boxes back here, each one heavier than the last, and I have my handy-dandy Swiss Army knife. Don't leave home without it. And honestly, I'm a little nervous. These boxes have been in our home for months now, and I don't know what's inside other than that it's Apple III stuff. I'm hoping it's cool. I'm hoping it survived being shipped from Toronto to California. And yeah, let's go ahead and see what happens. I feel like I should do a drum roll here. Okay. I will give a running dialogue of whatever is happening here. Man, these boxes are taped up very nicely. And here we go. First box is open. We got a lot of bubble wrap, which is good. That's good. Anytime you're shipping anything, but especially vintage computer stuff, the only correct amount of packing material is more packing material. All right, let's see. We've got some items already coming into view here. Oh, how cool is this? Apple III system software in the box. It says SOS Utilities and Emulation. And it's got a handwritten note on the side, original Apple III manuals. That is awesome. Put that there. Oh boy, there's a lot of stuff in here. We got... Oh man, what is all this? We got the Apple Writer 3 manual, which I think was the printer designed to go with the computer, or maybe that's the word processor. I might be... Yeah, Apple Writer was the word processor for the system, not a printer. My mistake. I was thinking laser writer and image writer. There's the Part 1 manual. This is the Part 2 manual for experienced users. Apple II Apple Plot manual. Memo Minder, an Apple III appointment calendar. The manual for that. Apple Business Basic Reference Manual Volume 1 with money on the cover. Because again, Apple III was a business computer for business people doing business things. Apple Writer 3, an introduction, and product training pack. Man, this is like really high quality printed material, you can tell. We've got Apple special delivery software with no discs inside, but still all of the late breaking news. Apple Access 3, copyright 1981, Apple Computer, written by Rick Geiger, graphics by Bridget Tatum, published by Apple Computer Inc. I love that there was a time when Apple's manuals were not only printed on paper, but actually included the names of the people who worked on them. We've got Apple III Mail List Manager, the manual. And we've got Apple Writer 3, the word processing language. I don't know anything about Apple Writer 3, but the fact that it came with a whole manual for its word processing language kind of makes me wonder if it might have been analogous to something like WordStar, which was a popular word processor that did have its own complex language, I guess you'd call it, for formatting text, even though the computers it was run on couldn't display that format on screen. So let's see what else we got. Oh boy, something else heavy. This sure looks a lot like a disk drive. Break out the pocket knife again. So I'm going to take a moment here to acknowledge the gentleman who arranged for these items to be sent to me. His name is Paul. Hi, Paul. I hope you're watching this. Thank you for trusting us to take good care of your dad's computer stuff. We will do our best to preserve it. And kudos to you and or your brother, who I think was part of this, and whatever UPS-style store you guys went to, because this packing job is really, really good. These items are mummified in bubble wrap, which is what I always want to see. Oh man, look at that. That is a Apple III disk drive with the really interesting, very rounded, kind of blobby design that Apple was using for the Apple III and really nothing else that I know of at that time. Very cool. All right, more bubble wrap. Let's see here. We've got another Apple III disk drive. I won't go ahead and unwrap that one just yet. Oh man, there's just so much stuff in here. We've got Marvin Windows Architectural Hotline Specifications disk. Specifications for Marvin's entire product line written in ASCII on a double density diskette. It's like a software catalog provided as a software catalog. We've got the manual for the Universal Parallel Interface card. Put that on the pile of manuals. We've got the Apple III Diskware program. which looks to be a floppy disk sleeve. Oh my goodness, look at this. It's an Apple Peripherals serial interface card, complete in the box, or at least a complete box. I don't know what's inside. We'll figure that out later. Okay. What else? We've got some loose leaf papers here. Interface cables for Hewlett-Packard graphics plotters and personal printers. I'm not surprised to see that in here because one of the things that Paul had told me about his dad's shop was that they had some of those absolutely gigantic Hewlett-Packard plotters for printing architectural blueprints and drafts at massive paper sizes. So I won't be surprised if there are related materials in some of these boxes. Looks like we've got product training disc for the Apple III. We've got some vintage Color Pro plotter paper for Hewlett-Packard Color Pro plotter. We've got the Apple III QuickFile 3 sampler manual, which looks like it's missing its cover, but is otherwise pretty intact. We've got the Apple II DOS manual. That'll go nicely with the machine that we were looking at just now. And starting a small business in Ontario, Key Factors to Marketing Success, published by the Ministry of Industry and Tourism in Ontario. So if I decide to go back in time and open a business in Canada in the 1980s, now I've got everything I need. Let's see, what else? We've got the Pascal Programmer's Manual, Volume 1. Awesome. We've got Apple III Pascal on floppy with more manuals. Very cool. Oh my goodness, more manuals. What else is here? We've got VisiCalc 3, the pocket reference, just in case you cannot remember every formula that VisiCalc can do, which, my God, yeah, I'm never going to memorize that. Oh, very cool. We've got the Apple III Owner's Guide and Device Driver Guide. We've got another manual, but it's missing its cover, so I'm not sure what it's for. It looks like a quick file sampler manual. And more quick file sampler info. And the Pascal program preparation tools. And more Pascal programming stuff. I guess somebody involved with these machines was doing a lot of programming in Pascal. What is this? This says it's the box, a box labeled Silent Type thermal paper. And I do remember there is an Apple printer called a Silent Type, which printed to thermal sensitive paper, so it was a little bit like a modern receipt printer, but it would actually print full size 8.5 by 11 pages that way. Oh, wow. This box has 5 never used rolls of Apple Silent Type black image thermal paper from 1980, I'm guessing 1981 maybe. Store in a cool, dry place, made in the USA. Wow, and there's 5 unopened rolls in here. I wonder how many unopened rolls of this paper exist on Earth anymore. That's kind of incredible. Wow. I'm running out of counter space and we're barely even through the first box. What else we got here? We've got floppies and more floppies. Whoa, a lot of floppies. We've got 4 or 5 boxes of Dyson double density floppy disks with lots of software inside. Gutenberg, which I'm guessing is a printing application, and Business Pascal and Basic and Apple III Business Basic programs and Memo Minder and on and on and on. It's an entire collection of Apple III software on floppies. Some of them are original, like that big, beautiful multicolor Apple logo. Some of them appear to be duplicates. These are all original. This is the disk for running Apple II software on an Apple III. We've got the original disks for Apple Writer 3, the word processor that goes with all these manuals we've been seeing. Basic programming stuff. Screen Director. I don't know what that is. The Keyboard, Part 2. Don't know what that is either. My gosh. There's just a ton of software. These look to be unused blank floppies from 1980. Single-sided double density. This is another floppy container. loaded with more software. Memo Minder, Locksmith, Diskware, Confidence, Apple Plot, on and on and on. There's so much Apple III software in these boxes. I'm kind of blown away. There's 2 more of them here. More Apple software, still with the big multicolor classic Apple logo. And 1 more. Construction estimates for the Northminster Baptist Church. I wonder if that's one of the architecture projects that these applications were used for. Wow, just more and more and more software. I can't wait to find out if these applications already exist online, or if potentially some of these have been lost, then I might be able to add them to the online archives, like at archive.org and places like that. Whew, okay. Let's see what else is in here. Got a power cord. Don't leave home without it. Got a couple more manuals in the bottom of the box. Looks like the operating instructions for a surge protector from 1980. We've got more floppy disk holders. Yeah, is there anything in this? Nope, just beautiful vintage Apple floppy disk holders. We got more Apple Pascal manuals. Got more Apple III Pascal manuals. And what do you know? Another Apple III Pascal manual. If I ever decide to learn Pascal, I am now well equipped to do it. And there's a couple more things in the bottom here. Looks like some business cards. Oh, this is wonderful. These are the business cards for George, who I believe was Paul's father, who was the original owner of all of this gear. And that is really special. I'm not going to show that on screen. I don't want to give away the family name, but that's really cool to have the business cards from the gentleman that originally used all of this stuff. Oh, this is heavy, whatever it is. Oh, I think I know what this is. I think I know exactly what this is. This is an Apple Silent Type printer. This is the printer that goes with those unused rolls of thermal paper. Wow, that's really cool. I've never seen one of these in person. They're not common. And it has the data cable attached to it. So if this thing can be brought back to life, potentially visitors to the Retro Roadshow could maybe print out graphics or their name or something fun on thermal paper using a 40-plus-year-old thermal printer. All right, that's 1 box down. There's 2 left. I'm going to pause for a moment and then we'll keep going. And scene. All right, that takes us through the first box, which was incredibly loaded with Apple III software and manuals and a Silent Type printer and unused Silent Type printer paper from 45 years ago or whatever. Amazing. So let's go ahead and dive into the next 2 boxes, which I believe, I'm hoping, contain an Apple III computer. So let's see what happens here. Once again, hella bubble wrap. I love it. Love it. Ah. This, I'm guessing just from the shape of it, it looks like an Apple Monitor 3. We have an Apple Monitor 3 in our collection that came to us with an Apple II parts machine years ago. This thing is wide and kind of squat, and it's a fairly distinctive shape. But I'm going to go ahead and get the bubble wrap off of this thing, and we'll see what's actually in here. All right, just like a lasagna, the best shipping is done with bubble wrap in multiple layers. So we got the big bubble wrap off. Now let's get the finer bubble wrap off and see what's in here. Yeah. There we have it. My hunch was correct. It's a monitor 3. And not only is it a monitor 3, but it's a monitor 3 that I can be very certain was well loved and well cared for. And the way you can tell that is because Apple, in the hopes of cutting down glare, which was a problem with these glass CRT monitors, they put a layer of, I guess, like almost like pantyhose material, like super thin nylon over the screen. And these monitors were not common, or are not common today, but the few that I have seen, including the one that we own, this very sheer material has been worn out and shredded over the years. Whereas this one, I mean, it's impeccable. It's in perfect condition. Absolutely, it looks like it came out of a time capsule. Other than being a little dusty, this thing is incredibly well preserved. So, love seeing that. Makes me very optimistic that it might actually work still, which would be the ultimate hope here. Let's scooch that back and see what else is in here. Whew, there's something big in the bottom of this box. Let's see what's in here. Well, judging by the weight and the shape of this thing, I am hoping / believing that this is an Apple III CPU. So just like I did with the monitor, I'm going to try to get the mummification wrap off of this thing. Let's see what we have. Whew, okay, we're getting closer. There's still a lot of bubble wrap here, but like one immediate thing that I can say right off the bat, when I did the opening to this video, I was showing an Apple II in the same position here. This thing's gotta weigh twice as much, maybe more. It is so heavy just picking it up. And the reason for that is obvious. The Apple II had a beautifully designed light plastic case, which has aged very well. This thing notoriously had a similarly designed case, but is made out of pressed aluminum. And you think of aluminum as a lightweight material, and it typically is, but for whatever reason, the design on this thing rendered it extremely heavy, and aluminum is also not the ideal material for heat dissipation, which is probably one of the factors that contributed to the early and maybe untimely death of the Apple III line. They were notorious for overheating. And there's apocryphal stories of Apple tech support telling people that the best way to fix their Apple III was to drop it on the desk to reseat all the chips inside because the boards were warping and chips were popping out. I don't know if any of that ever really happened, but the definite truth is that these machines were notorious for overheating when used for extended periods of time, like, oh, say you might do in an office environment using them 8 to 10 hours a day. So go ahead and get the rest of this bubble wrap off and see what's in here. That's a really good sign. That looks like an Apple III keyboard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That, my friends, is an Apple III in absolutely beautiful condition. I mean, yes, the paint appears to have yellowed a little bit. That's completely normal for any Apple product of this age, and frankly a lot of other stuff from the 80s and 90s too. But it's just immaculate. Look at how pristine this thing is. Every key is on the keyboard. The reset button is still present. The floppy drive hatch is still there. I just can't get over how clean this thing looks. That's just amazing. And you can already tell what a beautiful industrial design. I mean, setting aside the heating issues, but just from an aesthetics perspective, look at how great that looks with the Monitor 3. Like they were designed to go together. What do you know? Man, that is just too cool. I cannot wait to see if this stuff works. So that, I think, brings us to the end of the first of the two giant boxes, but there's another giant box back here. I have no idea what's in that one. We've already got an Apple III and an Apple Monitor 3 and a mountain of software and a printer. I literally have no idea what's left in that third box. This is more than I ever thought was coming, so let's go ahead and find out. I need a bigger counter. Let's put that there. All right, first item, we've got another power cord. You can never have too many of those. A lot more bubble wrap. And something bundled up in here. I'm just going to pause again for a moment and acknowledge the incredible work that whoever actually packed these items, whether it was Paul and his brother or a store they took them to, they did an incredible job. These were really, really well packed. I might be mistaken, but that sure looks like another Monitor 3. That's crazy. Okay, let's find out. All right. Yeah, hunch confirmed. It's another Monitor 3. And this one has a post-it note on the front, and I can't make out what it reads. I'll put a picture of it in the video. Maybe you guys can help me decipher what that reads. Manufactured April of 1983, which is right around the halfway mark of the Apple III's lifespan as a product that Apple was selling. That's fascinating. Ooh, okay. Now we've got one Apple III and two monitors, and there's still something else in that box, which you can probably guess what I'm wondering right now. Oh my goodness. There's only one thing this could be. It's got to be another Apple III. There's two of them here. Absolutely crazy. Wow, okay. Oh. So, I don't know if this is going to come through on the video. Ooh, it's heavy. There's a handwritten note inside the packaging for this one. So, yeah, let's keep going. I'm going to be extra careful here. I don't want to shred that note. I am very curious what was put in here. I love this stuff. This is a note that reads, "Battery pack needs replacing." So George or somebody in his office knew that this machine needed a little bit more TLC than this one did. All right. So yeah, hunch confirmed. We have a second Apple III. This one looks to be in a little bit rougher shape than the first one. This one is beautiful. It's in great shape. This one is clearly a little bit more yellowed, and some of the keys are taped on. At least two of them looks like, no, maybe just one, just the down arrow key, or maybe the right arrow key, I can't quite tell, is taped on. Looks like it might have come loose at some point. Oh yeah, I can see the key stem is cracked. So that's actually not a super difficult thing to fix on other vintage keyboards. We'll find out about this one. But otherwise, at least the keyboard seems to be largely intact. There's a, ooh, that's interesting. There's a toggle switch installed on the rear of this Apple III, which has been sheared off at some point, maybe in shipping, I don't know. It's just kind of flopping around, but there's a toggle switch there. I wonder what that toggle would toggle. Fascinating. There's also some kind of an interface card installed in this one that I don't see in the first one that we pulled out. It looks like it might be a printer interface. I don't know. Maybe it's that printer card that goes with the packaging that we saw earlier. But I think that's all of it. There's nothing else in these boxes. So I'm going to take a break, drink some water, and just kind of reckon with the fact that there are 2 Apple III systems in my home with a silent type printer and a mountain of manuals and software. And check back to the channel soon, because I cannot have vintage hardware in my home for long without trying it out. So there will be a sequel to this video coming up in the very near future. But for now, I'm just going to say thank you, Paul. We appreciate you, and we appreciate what your dad, George, did with his business using these machines, and we will do what we can to preserve that legacy for all of the visitors to our events who will get to learn about these machines by actually using them when we get them up and running. So that's it. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.